YouTube, what's the word? We back at. Yeah, let me get the channel up here real quick. We're back at it again. Most amazing top 10 dark pictures from history that will leave you horrified. Channel up, man. Just hit the like button, man. If y'all ready, I'm ready. Let's see how our audio sound, though. Damn, bro. Bro, why it sound like that, bro? Why it sound like... I got my damn Barry White voice on chat. Here we go again. All right, man. We hit that like button. Y'all ready? Let's go.
Starting off this countdown, we have Paul Walker. On November 30th, 2013, Paul Walker attended a charity event for Reach Out Worldwide. He was last captured driving off in a red Porsche Carrera GT. Little did he know that later that day, the car would crash into a concrete lamppost and 2 trees before bursting into flames, killing Walker and the driver instantly. It's so sad looking at this photo. Like, Paul seemed happy. He got into the car not knowing his fate.
Yeah,
in fact, what makes
real.
this scarier is that he might have still been alive had it not been for one text. He woke up that morning completely forgetting about the charity event that he had to go to. That was until someone texted him to remind him. Had he not gone to the event and just stayed home, things would have been different.
Coming in at number 9 is Robin Williams,
Rest
one of the
in peace,
greatest
Paul
actors
Walker.
and comedic minds that has ever passed through Hollywood. There was movie after movie that this guy made that influenced people from my generation and so many generations after.
Starfire.
And right before we get further into this point, guys, remember that you can like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell, and stick around to the end of the list because we're going to be answering some comments from our previous video, Top 10 Disney Mysteries. I mean, we can go down the list. This guy was in Aladdin, Jumanji, Mrs. Doubtfire. All of those movies were certified bangers, and this was the last picture of him before he passed. He looked so happy. He's chilling out with his monkey Crystal, and the two of them are just being the best of friends. But even having one of the coolest pets of all time wasn't enough to keep him happy. Unfortunately, shortly after this picture was taken, Robin Williams would visit the doctor and get a very sad diagnosis. It would seem that he had Parkinson's. It was devastating news that would lead to him taking his own life. Apparently, he was misdiagnosed and he actually had a specific type of dementia, which leads to paranoia.
In our 8th spot, we have Amelia Earhart. The fate of Amelia Earhart is still unknown. Did she die in a plane crash? Did she get straight?
That's messed up, chat. That's messed up. They told him that, bro, and he ended up taking his own life, and it was just because man, these doctors better be for sure before they out here give people information. False information.
Brandon on a deserted island? We honestly don't know. In 1937, Amelia set out with her navigator Fred Noonan to fly around the world. One of the last photos of Amelia was her packing her suitcase for travels, in which she would never return from. Much like these other celebrities, she looked so happy, just excited to go on this adventure. But little did she know it would end in tragedy. Amelia and Fred were last heard from on July 2nd, 1937. The government spent 15 years looking for them. In fact, searching for Earhart was the largest and most expensive search in American history. Sadly, hardly anything came of this. They thought that maybe the plane crashed somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, but who really knows?
Coming in at number 7, we have Gene Wilder. It's impressive how Gene Wilder was able to be both hilarious and terrifying in many of his performances. Like throughout most of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he's kind of scary, but then when you check out Blazing Saddles, he's one of the funniest dudes around. This was the last picture taken of him, or at least the last one that was shared to the public. He lived well into his 80s, and in this picture you can see him with his daughter walking in Los Angeles. It was in 2013 when one of the most famous actors in the world would learn that he was battling Alzheimer's. This is obviously a very strenuous disease, and it can slowly wither a person away. It's a tough battle, and because of this, Gene wanted to stay out of the public eye. So after he was told by doctors that he was fighting Alzheimer's, he decided that he would stay out of the hearing I have fans and become a homebody. And I mean, it sounds like a solid move. You had an amazing career, so in your last few years it would be nice to relax. He passed away in 2016.
And at number 8 we have the Dangerous Selfie. Taking selfies any and everywhere is kind of the new norm, but you would never think that a selfie would be deadly. Sadly, you'd be mistaken.
Dangerous Selfie, yeah, because people be taking selfies, bro, next to cliffs, bro, Niagara Falls. You shit too close to fall off. Yeah, it's dangerous selfies. They ain't paying attention to their surroundings. Definitely dangerous selfies. Dangerous to them, boy.
Back in March of 2017, best friends Nitzia Mendoza Corral and Clarissa Morquicho Miranda were taking selfies on an airstrip when they were hit and killed by an oncoming plane.
See?
The two were standing in the back of the van when this happened.
Bro, what the hell are they doing standing on the airstrip? What are you doing standing on the airstrip for? Boy, they lucky Homeland Security didn't come down and get their ass for that, boy. They couldn't, man, they got death. I mean, that ain't good, but man, if Homeland Security would have got to them, they would have been in jail, boy. That's a big no-no.
But they were warned not to do so. They took this photo, and moments later, they were hit by a wing of a plane that they didn't see coming. They passed away instantly. Now, when you look at this photo, it just feels so dark, knowing seconds later the girls lost their lives. Coming in at number 6.
They was told not to. Don't take a picture there. What happened? They got hit by a wing of a plane, bro, and died instantly, bro. Probably snapped their neck. How fast some planes be coming in? Rest in peace to them, though. They should have listened. Rest in peace to them.
Number 7, we have the Extreme Selfie. 26-year-old Wu Yongning was known for his extreme selfies. He was considered
I remember this guy. I used to watch some of his shit. Sorry to stop this so early, but I used to watch some of his shit when he was alive, and I think I might have seen his last one too. Rest in peace.
A rooftopper, which means he would stand on high buildings or structures or other precarious places and take photos and videos doing so. He made a living doing this, and he would do so with no harness, net, or safety equipment. This photo was one of the last photos he ever took. That was before November of 2017 when he died after falling off of a 62-story building. He was doing this as part of a contest to win 100,000 yuans, but this would be the last of his dangerous stunts. He climbed up to the top of that building that day with the hopes of winning that prize. He never thought it would end the way that it did. Coming in at number 6, we have Gary Slock. This selfie is of Gary Slock and his mother aboard their flight. Little did they know the horrors that would soon await. They were both excited for their vacation to Malaysia. The trip was designed for single parents and their children. Sadly, 3 hours after that photo was taken, a missile shot down the plane as it flew over eastern Ukraine. There were no survivors. The two were so excited for their trip, they referred to it as their dream holiday. Again, just look how happy the two were. This breaks my heart.
One of the gods of rock and roll, a man who paved the way for the carefree and breakout behavior of the 70s. His music would define a generation, and the things he could do with a guitar would shake the heavens themselves.
Who would have thought, man? We about to get on a plane, y'all. Go on our dream vacation. Or plane get hit by a freaking missile, bro. Man, that's cold.
And this was the last picture taken of him. This guy was so legendary that there were several rumors created about this rock icon, most of them related to his music career and his habitual partying. People said he used to put acid in his headband when he went out to play. Eventually he would start to sweat and the LSD would seep into his skin, and he would be on a wild ride of psychedelics while playing in front of thousands of people. I can't even imagine what that experience would have been like. There's also talk that he wrote the whole song Purple Haze about an LSD trip, but the official statement is that it was a dream. But unfortunately, his partying lifestyle eventually caught up with him. Jimi Hendrix was found dead on the floor of a hotel room after he asphyxiated on his own vomit. This was caused by a cocktail of drugs and alcohol that he had taken, and then he would...
Bro, it's high as shit, bro. Trying to ease the pain of everything and Okay. OD.
Join the infamous 27 Club.
Coming in at number 9, we have John F. Kennedy. But guys, before I go any further, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel because it really helps us out. Also, hit that bell notification so you never miss an upload from us. Thank you. Alright, so this photo was one of the last photos of John F. Kennedy. It was taken just before his assassination in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. In the photo, you can see President Kennedy in his car waving to the audience. A little while later, at 12:30 p.m., he was shot in the head and died instantly. This may be one of the last photos of him, but someone managed to capture his very last moments on film. Abraham Zapruder was filming Kennedy while this all went down, and got every gory detail on camera. That's extremely sad.
Coming in at number 8, we have Carrie Fisher. She was the first love for so many nerds out there. Every kid growing up in the 80s remembers Princess Leia in a bronze bikini being kept by the disgusting Jabba the Hutt. But Carrie Fisher will always be remembered because she's one of the most important parts of the biggest movie franchise in the world. And she's had a pretty amazing career, but eventually old age will get all of us. This was the last picture taken of the famous actress. A fan stopped her in the street and asked her for a picture, and the kind soul that she is, she obliged. The next day she would be on a plane, and partway through the flight she started to experience some chest pains. Fisher was experiencing a heart attack in the air. The pilot landed and she was rushed to the hospital, but she would pass away 4 days later.
In our 7th spot, we have Sharon Tate. These beautiful photos of Sharon Tate were taken a couple of days before she was brutally murdered by the Manson family. In the photo, she was 8.5 months pregnant with her first child. You can see her posing for photos with her baby bump
Yeah, once again, bro, I went to school, to Job Corps, with one of the Mansons. Her was Adele.
showing proud. A couple days later, on August 8th, Manson ordered his cult followers to go to the home that Sharon was renting and have everyone there gruesomely murdered. Why? Well, some say it's because the home's previous owner, a music producer, Terry Melcher, pissed off Charles by not giving him a recording contract. It's just sad that Sharon had to die like that, and so young. Had they rented a different house, things may have been different.
Coming in at number 3, we have Aaliyah. Aaliyah was a rising star in the R&B community, and it seemed that she was going to be the next star in the music industry. Literally everyone who was into music was talking about her.
This one was sad, bro. This is another one. I was in Job Corps when Aaliyah passed away. But she was on her way to superstardom for real.
She was 22 years old. She had already won 14 awards and been nominated for 73 awards through different music organizations. There's a good portion of us who don't even have our driver's license at 22, but her death would shock the world. Either one of those two pictures is thought to be the last of Aaliyah. They didn't have timestamps on every last picture back then, so we don't know exactly which one it is. But Aaliyah would board a plane that was headed to the Bahamas. It should have been a nice short trip, but the plane crashed. Out of nowhere, the next big thing in music was gone.
In our second spot, we have John.
For real, yeah, man. Rest in peace to Aaliyah. Man, they should just listen, bro. Let that stuff go ahead, but rest in peace, Aaliyah.
Lennon. On December 8th, 1980, John Lennon was assassinated outside of his Manhattan apartment. Earlier that day, Lennon was photographed signing autographs for fans. The last photo of him was him signing an autograph for the man who would later murder him. It's so eerie. The photo literally foreshadows his fate. He was literally pictured with his killer. Later that night, the man in the photo, David Chapman, returned to Lennon's apartment and waited outside for him. When he came down, Chapman shot him 4 times in the back. That's just way too freaky for me.
And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Marilyn Monroe. I mean, what didn't Marilyn Monroe do? It's thought that she changed how women could represent themselves in the public eye. She was one of the biggest beauty icons of all time. It's thought that she had an affair with the President of the United States. She was a bona fide legend, and she may never be forgotten. This was the last known picture taken of the superstar. She was hanging out with one of her buddies, Buddy Greco, who was a famous jazz musician of the time. Man, jazz has changed a lot. It used to be the coolest thing in town. There's no way you could be playing jazz now and it would get you into the arms of Scarlett Johansson. On the record, her death was deemed a suicide, but off the record, it seemed that the CIA might have taken her out. She knew too many secrets from being close to the president. They couldn't let those secrets.
Starting off this countdown, we have Prabhu Batara. Prabhu Batara was a taxi driver in India that got mauled to death by a bear after trying to take a selfie with it. He was driving some passengers home from a wedding when he spotted a bear.
Alright, look, here we go again. These dum-dums, bro. How you think you gonna take a picture with a wild animal, bro? Yeah, we're gonna take a selfie with this bear. Bro, swipe, crunch, you're done. Man, people gotta stay away from these wild animals, bro, for real.
By the side of the road. He got out, leaving the passengers in the car, promising he would only be a few minutes. The bear was injured and trying to drink water from a pond. When he got too close to it, the bear attacked. He got pulled to the ground and clawed at. The photos you see here are photos people took of the incident as it happened. Now, people did go to his rescue, but were afraid for their own life. So they tried to scare off the bear by throwing rocks and sticks at it. But in the end, this enraged the bear even more. He passed away minutes after these photos were taken. Moving on at number 9, we have David Johnston. David Johnston.
People, if you see a bear out in the wild, I repeat, do not stop and try to take a picture up with it up close in person. I repeat, just keep going, bro. It's not worth it. For real. People out here dying senselessly, bro. That man could have still been alive if he would have just kept on driving. Man.
Johnston was a 31-year-old volcanologist that fell victim to a volcano explosion on May 18, 1980. 13 hours before his death, this photo was taken of him. That was the very spot that he was killed. So on that day, it was Johnston's shift to keep an eye on Mount St. Helen, the mountain where the explosion occurred. He was 6 miles away from the volcano. That morning, the eruption came fast and without warning. As it was erupting, he signaled to the base saying, "Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it." Shortly after he radioed that, he was killed by a lateral blast from the volcano. Sadly, his body was never found. All that was left were remnants of his trailer. Now, it breaks my heart seeing that photo. Just look how happy he looks. Little did he know that 13 hours later, that would be it. Coming in at number 6, we have Chris McCandless. Chris was a 24-year-old American adventurer. In 1992, Chris set out on another adventure, this time into the Alaskan wilderness. However, he never made it out alive. His death has been debated for years. Some say he died of starvation. Others believe that he died of poisoning after eating toxic berries. The last photo ever captured of Chris was a picture he took of himself smiling and waving to the camera, holding a note. The note is believed to have said, "I have had a happy life and thank the Lord. Goodbye and may God bless all." Later, he was found dead by a group of hunters. The hunters were looking for a shelter for the night when they came across the bus where Chris was staying in. But when they entered, they discovered Chris laying in his sleeping bag at the back of the bus. His remains were already decomposing. Now, the last thing Chris ever wrote read, "Day 107.
Chris liked to live the free life. Living off the land. Looked like he was having fun, peaceful out there. Probably where he wanted to take his last breath anyways.
Beautiful blueberries. Then days 108 through 112 contained no words, they just had slashes. And on day 113, there was no entry at all. So maybe it was some toxic berry that killed him. But still, this photo is super eerie, especially because of the sign he was holding. It's like he knew he wasn't going to make it.
Coming in at number 5, we have Nicola Tesla, one of the greatest minds to ever grace the earth. This dude was straight up one of the smartest people who has ever lived. If it wasn't for this guy, we wouldn't have the radio, we wouldn't have access to electricity the way that we do today. And even though he has nothing to do with the company Tesla that makes electric cars, there would be a solid chance that those electric cars wouldn't be running right now if it wasn't for the inventions that this man made. This was the last known picture of the inventor. He looks like he was ill, but he was actually mostly thin because he had changed his diet to eating very light. He wouldn't eat meat and he mostly lived off bread, honey, and vegetable juices. Probably the saddest part about the end of Tesla's life is that he basically had no money, although he did find pleasure in pigeons. For some reason, the inventor had an obsession with pigeons. He would go to the park and feed them, and even said that they gave him some of the ideas for his inventions. That's the secret. You gotta start hanging out with more pigeons.
In our fourth spot, we have
fucking a brainiac, didn't have money, loved pigeons.
James Dean. On September 30th, 1955, James Dean died in a car accident at only 24 years old. It's said that he was driving fast and suddenly had to swerve out of the way to avoid an oncoming car, but ended up hitting it almost head on. It's said that Dean died instantly, but his passenger survived with injuries. That day, Dean was photographed posing with the very car he later died in. In fact, that car is said to be cursed. He only owned it for 9 days before his death. Later, after he died, the car rolled off the back of a truck and crushed the legs of a mechanic. Then the car's parts were
This car is cursed. After he died in it, everybody that ended up buying that car or part of that car or something, they ended up dying in a horrific death. Crazy.
disassembled and installed into other cars around the world. All those car owners also got into deadly crashes. So Dean's last picture was literally with a cursed car that killed him. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the deadly Tinder date. A lot of people use the dating app Tinder, but there have been a number of Tinder horror stories of dates going terribly wrong, including this one. This is Cindy Loof. This is also the last photo of Cindy. Cindy was very excited to meet up with her Tinder date, Audrey, but Audrey wasn't who she said she was. She was actually a girl named Bailey Boswell. The two had already gone out the night before on November 14th, 2017. On that day, she sent a message to Bailey asking if it was only going to be the two of them. Previously, she had gone on dates with other women who would try to bring a male along for some extra fun. But Bailey reassured her it was only going to be them. On November 15th, on their second date, Bailey brought her boyfriend along. Bailey then convinced Sydney to participate in some acts with the two. This led to them playing a game in which Sydney was choked to death. So the last photo of Sydney was her all excited for her date, which would later take her life. In our 4th spot, we have Anne Faber. On the evening of September 29th, 2000.
Bro, I better watch out. Mean people on Tinder, fuck around and get yourself whacked.
2017, Anne Faber went out for a bike ride by herself. By 6:50 p.m., she got caught in the rain and sent this selfie to her boyfriend. An hour later, her boyfriend reached out to her, but by then it was too late. Anne had already been kidnapped. Her body was found 2 weeks later in the woods. That was the last photo Anne ever took, and also the last photo of her. Moving on, number 3, we have the Stowaway. At 14 years of age, Keith Sapsford was sent to a Catholic residential school. He hated it so much that he fled, heading to the Sydney airport with hopes of stowing away on an airplane headed to Japan. But his plan took a deadly turn. On February 22nd of 1970, he snuck into the airport and climbed into the airplane's wheel compartment. He waited there safely for the plane to take off. Sadly, when the plane was 200 feet in the air, the plane wheels retracted and he fell 200 feet to his death. At this time, a photographer named John Gilpin was taking pictures at the airport when he saw the boy falling from the sky. He managed to capture this photo. That was the last photo ever taken of Keith. Literally, you see him falling from the sky. It's creepy. In our 2nd spot, we have Japan.
Skydiving without no parachute. What the heck he was on? Man, you should have found a chute somewhere, bro.
Airlines Flight 123. This photo was recovered from Japan Airlines Flight 123, the flight that ended up in disaster with the plane crashing and 520 people dying. This incident is said to be one of the deadliest single plane crashes in the history. Only 4 passengers survived. On August 12, 1985, the plane took off at 6:12 p.m. and was scheduled to arrive at Osaka 1 hour later. But during the flight, the pilot had trouble controlling the plane, and they began to lose altitude quickly. This photo was taken as that was happening. You can see the oxygen masks drop down as a result. After failing to gain control of the plane, it crashed into Mount Takamagahara. This is the last photo of almost everyone on board. And in our number 1 spot, we have Regina K Walters. Back in 1991, Regina K Walters and her boyfriend ran off together. Later, they were picked up by a man named Robert Ben Rhodes. He was known as the Truck Stop Killer. He was a serial killer that murdered over 50 women. Regina K Walters was his last victim. This photo is of Regina after being abducted by Robert. He forced her to cut her hair and made her wear that dress and the heels you see in the photo. He then proceeded to take a number of photos of her, including this one in which she looks terrified for her own life. These photos were taken in an abandoned farmhouse where her body was later found. So the last photos of Regina were taken by her killer in the place she died. What gets me the most is the look in her eyes. She looked—
Damn, bro, that's sick. Look at that girl, bro. She looked freaking terrified, bro, just knowing that this is the last time I'm gonna be seen alive. And this guy is taking pictures of me. And hopefully somebody get to see these pictures, bro. That's messed up, man. Look how she looks terrified as heck, man. Scared her. Look like she been crying. Look, her little face right here is all red. Her nose is red, bro. She's
looks terrified, as anyone would be in her situation.
Coming in number 6, we have Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze was the man of his day. Roadhouse, Dirty Dancing, Point Break, Red Dawn, Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko! Sorry.
All those movies.
Great movie.
Great movie. He was not only one of the biggest stars of his generation, but he was also a heartthrob and known for being in incredible shape. That's why the news of his sickness shook the world so hard. Patrick Swayze would be diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and step away from film because of how ill he was. This was the last photo ever taken of him. It's wild to see this guy like this since he used to be known for having a rock solid body, but he's withered away. It really makes you see how devastating cancer can be to a person. On the brighter side, his last moments were spent with his family, which is how I'm sure he wanted to spend them.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Elvis Presley. In this photo taken on August 16th, 1977, we see Elvis Presley driving home after just visiting his dentist. Little did we know that later that day he would be found dead in his bathroom by his girlfriend. Look at him driving home unaware that he was going to die shortly after. Now apparently his death is due to heart failure from ongoing drug abuse, but it's also thought that maybe the codeine pills that the dentist gave him had something to do with his death. He was known to have a mild allergy to codeine. It's thought that maybe that drug just pushed him over the edge that day. Had he not been to the dentist, maybe things would have been different.
Coming in at number 4, we have Prince. We are back again with one of the best rock stars of all time. Prince will go down as one of the best musicians.
Prince was the best, and that man died doing what he loved to do. He literally died in his studio. Fucking making music, we all assume.
Musicians on earth. He could literally play everything. Dave Grohl was once asked if he thought that Prince was a better musician than him, and he said, dude, Prince is a better drummer than me. That's how good Prince is. Not to mention his persona. He was a character that was so uniquely him, we probably won't see someone like Prince around for a very long time. I think a few of you out there remember the Dave Chappelle sketch about Prince.
This bores me.
Yeah, that was
Does anyone up for a game of basketball?
Apparently this guy could ball seriously as well, which is nuts. But Prince's intense lifestyle eventually caught up with him. He started having serious health problems. People say that from performing nearly every night and wearing high heels constantly, he developed terrible hip and back problems. This led to him eventually needing serious painkillers to function, and this sadly led to an overdose. This was the last picture of him alive.
In our 3rd spot, we have Princess Diana. This photo was taken on August 31st, 1997, just before Diana died in a car crash. In the photo taken by paparazzi, we can see Diana in the car with her rumored boyfriend. Moments after the picture—
Looked like she's looking back, like somebody's chasing her. Look how she's looking back there, and he's looking like, what the hell? I don't know, the driver.
was taken, the intoxicated driver lost control of the car and crashed into a pillar. The driver and her boyfriend died instantly. Diana suffered from a concussion, broken arm, cut thigh, and massive chest injuries. She died later in the hospital as a result. It's so sad. No one ever thought that this was going to happen to them. Especially Diana, who got into the car thinking she was going to arrive at her destination safely. Coming in at number 2, we have Steve Irwin, otherwise known as the Crocodile Hunter. Steve was known for wrestling crocodiles and getting up close and personal with other dangerous creatures. The last photos taken of him were by tourists on September 4th, 2006. They saw him filming a documentary and stopped to take photos. One of the photos caught Steve waving to his fans. A little while later, Steve would die after a stingray's barb pierced through his chest. What's even more scary is that his last words were, "I'm dying." That is so heartbreaking to think about.
Coming in at the #1 spot, we have Martin Luther King, one of the greatest men who ever lived. Martin Luther King fought tirelessly.
Yeah, I used to watch Steve Irwin's show. I liked him. I definitely wouldn't have did some of the stuff he did, boy. He lived life on the edge like it was his last. For real. I like the show. His daughter's taking his spot now.
To push America towards a world of equality, to make the USA a place where people from every race could work side by side and didn't need to worry about the color of their skin. It's because of him and other people like him that we have the Civil Rights Act. On April 3rd, 1968, Dr. King was set to appear in Tennessee to talk about how black factory workers were being paid substantially less than their white co-workers for the same job. This was the last picture of him taken. Not long after this picture was taken,
Hey y'all, look. This one is crazy. Y'all seen that interview, bro. His people set him up. I think it was, to be honest with y'all, I think it was this dude right here. He looked like the dude I seen when they did that interview. That dude said he was, before he was standing in front of him, he seen the sniper. And they didn't shoot because he was in front of him. And then he moved, bro. And then the sniper shot. Oh, you could have saved him. What you want?
Martin Luther King was assassinated. He would be shot on the balcony, all because he thought that people of different races should be treated equally. We talk about people like this now so we don't forget what they've done for us. At number 10, we have Wall of Ash. What would you do in the face of a volcano? Would you pray for God to save you from this oncoming doom? Would you try to run for safety? Maybe you lock yourself indoors and end up like the most famous guy from Pompeii. Well, no matter your choice, I'm sure you'd be scared so bad you might pee your pants a little. I mean, look at this. Robert Landsberg took this picture in the face of terror and his oncoming doom. It was Mount St. Helens and it had just erupted and was about to send a murderous wall of unbreathable ash towards him. He snapped this picture because even though he died, he wanted some people to see the power of Mother Nature. I can only imagine the fear he felt as he saw this barreling towards him. At number 9, we have Tsunami. A massive earthquake shook the ocean floor and would send one of the most devastating disasters that we have ever seen to the shores of Thailand. There were thousands of people there, a mixture of tourists and locals, and no one would have expected what was about to happen.
Damn. Look at that, Chad.
This picture was taken by one of Deborah Garlick's friends, and you can see her and a bunch of people on the beach trying to escape the cold and have a nice tropical summer. Not long after this photo was taken, a massive tsunami hit the shores of the beach and beaches all over the country. In total, there were 230,000 people who died, along with millions of dollars in property damage and people forced into poverty because everything they had ever owned was destroyed. These photos were developed and then given to Deborah's family so they could have a lasting image of their daughter and something to keep her memory in their hearts and minds. At number 8, we have Ayrton Senna at the San Marino Grand Prix. Being one of the best drivers in the world, you never would expect you would meet your end in a crash. I mean, I guess you're kind of tempting fate by always driving super fast, but there are thousands of drivers who live long lives and never meet their end behind the wheel of their trusted machines. Ayrton Senna was one of the best when it came to Formula 1 driving. He was a 3-time champion and he was one of the favorites to win the San Marino Grand Prix in 1994. The young Italian man was only 34 at the time, and this was one of the last photos ever taken of him. Look at him, he's cool, calm, and collected. He's got the eye of the tiger and he was ready to take this race by storm. During the race, he hit a corner a little too tight and lost control of his car and crashed into a retaining wall. Even though these cars are built to crash and drivers crash all the time and walk away from it, today he wouldn't be so lucky. One of the tires of Senna's car flew back and hit him in the head. Then he was rushed to the hospital, but it wasn't even a day later before he was pronounced dead. At number 7, we have Risking It All. It's crazy what people will do for their social media. I know it's a business for a lot of people. I mean, I'm in that business myself, but I can promise you that I will never do something risky like this. All the pictures I post will be of me being lazy. I'm probably eating some food and maybe some memes thrown in there. That's as crazy as it's going to get. This picture was taken at the world famous cliff known as Europe's End. It's a beautiful view, but this couple wanted to push the boundaries of a good picture. Unfortunately, this would be the last picture that this woman ever took. Moments after this was taken, she lost her grip and she fell to her death. At number 6, we have Trying to Escape. I can't imagine how terrifying it must be to be in this kind of situation. I'm gonna show you this and then I want you just to drink it in for a moment. Think of what that kid was.
Bro, what y'all think was going through his head, bro? Bro, be honest, if that was me, bro, I probably would have been dead before I even hit the ground, bro. Look at that. He's just falling, bro. Falling. no parachute. Just wonder when I'ma splat. Cause they up high as hell.
Feeling at that very moment, falling from a plane at 200 feet in the air with no parachute. This is one of the scariest things I can think of. This was taken in 1970 totally by chance. An amateur photographer wanted to test out some of his new gear and caught this happening. Keith Sapsford had broken into an airport and snuck into the wheel well of a plane. He wanted to escape his old life. He wanted to see the world. His parents had just sent him off to an all-boys Catholic boarding school, and he refused to let that be his reality. He ran away and beelined it for the airport. He didn't know the wheel well would open again while flying. The sad part about this is he was doomed no matter what. If it wasn't the fall that killed him, the low temperatures and oxygen levels would have. At number 5, we have Bud Dwyer's last moments. Bud Dwyer was caught up in some pretty shady stuff. And when you're a government official, you can't get caught doing something under the table or it's all over. You were elected to take care of the people. And when you go behind everyone's back and do the opposite, the public will not be happy with you. He was the treasurer of the state of Pennsylvania, and he needed to find an accounting company to correct a taxing error that overcharged thousands of people. He hired a company to go through this, but not long after it was leaked that he took bribes from an accounting firm to give them the contract, which was worth several $1,000,000. He was arrested and then sentenced, but before he made his way to jail, he called a press conference. He had the whole speech written out. He talked to the press, and at the end, he pulled out a revolver and committed suicide on live television. The picture we're about to show you is the last picture ever taken of him before he died. Number 4, we have moments before death. I'm going to start this one off by showing you the picture, and then we can do a breakdown. This looks so peaceful. You have a father and his son enjoying their time together. Before you get too sad, I'll let you know that the father and son in this picture both survived. But it's a car in the background that's the danger. Nobody knew what was about to happen, but an offshoot of the IRA had hidden a bomb in the car. This was intended to strike fear into the public, and they did it strategically. They called in a bomb threat at the other end of town to move people closer to the bomb. And then when it went off, 249 people were hit by the blast.
Man, that looked like that rocked that whole little street. Jeez.
Everyone was sent to the hospital and 29 of them would die. This changed anti-terrorism laws in Ireland forever. At number 3, we have Flight MH17. For those of you who don't know, Flight MH17 was shot down by a missile while flying over the Ukraine. It was a devastating mistake, and this was one of the last images that was ever sent off the plane before it was shot down. This is Gary and his mother Petra. It's such a happy picture, and it's sad to think of all the other families that were on board this plane and how they thought everything would be fine. There would have never been any sign of anything going wrong until it was too late. At number 2, we have the Challenger launch. In 1986, a group of 7 people were set to jump into the Challenger space shuttle. It was supposed to be a wondrous moment in American space travel history, but a small error, a failed O-ring, would end up leading to the spacecraft failing and exploding over the Atlantic Ocean.
65 seconds into flight, NASA Control orders Commander Scobie to go to full power.
Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
This photo was the last photo taken as they were headed out to the spacecraft. You can see how excited everyone is, and why shouldn't they be? They were going into space. That is something that so few of us get to do, and it is supposed to be one of the most amazing things you can experience. In total, 7 people died in the accident, one of them being a school teacher. One of the scariest things about this crash is that some people believe that the people on board survived the initial explosion, but were killed when the craft hit the water. Could you imagine how frightening that experience would be? At number 1, we have Mayinga Naseka fighting Ebola. One of the scariest things that has happened in recent years has been the outbreak of Ebola. There was a recent one in the 2000s that had everyone freaking out, and for good reason.
2 Americans who had been working to treat Ebola patients in Africa have been stricken by the disease. Officials say they will be taken to Atlanta's Emory University Hospital in a tightly sealed isolation unit.
If you come in contact with this virus, you're pretty much done. There's no cure, and you have to hope through the right medical treatments that you will be one of the survivors. It literally eats away your body until nothing is left but a husk. And the most recent outbreak isn't the first time that we've seen this virus make headlines. In 1976, there was a case of Ebola popping up all throughout Africa, and because we didn't have the same technology back then, there was a much higher risk of the virus spreading and becoming a major threat to humanity. But thanks to people like this, we were kept safe from harm. This is Nurse Mainga Naseka putting herself at risk to save people with the Ebola virus. She was doing everything humanly possible to make sure people were comfortable, and she was trying to stop the sickness from killing them. Unfortunately, this would eventually lead to her own death. She contracted the disease and she would die that same year. Alright everyone, that is our list. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as promised, I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. I pick new pets every day, so if you don't get picked one day, you can message back another day. And without taking any longer, let's shout out some pets. Starting off this list, we have Jinx. This cat is absolutely amazing. I love the tuxedo. Next, we got Blue. This guy looks like a sneaky little cat just hanging out. I like it. After that, we have Harley Quinn. This is a pumped up good boy ready to go. Then we have Frizz. Look at how loungy this guy is. He just wants to chill. Following that, we have Luna. Such a nice gray color to this cat. Beautiful. And closing out the list, we have Alfie. I don't know if there's such a thing as love at first sight, but I think it just happened.
Starting off this countdown, we have the Challenger. On January 28th, 1986,
we're gonna end this one. Does it look like they're running the same stuff? I hope y'all enjoyed this one. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. We